Jenny.
It is Monday, the 21st, 10 days away from Halloween.
As I'm drinking from my reindeer mug, shout out Meseret Ceramics.
And I have my Island Time Tervis. Shout out to Tervis. And to Margaritaville.
But that's water in her cup.
Yes, it is. It is. It is water.
Just wanted to make that clear.
Hydrate. See? Today's topic. There's more going on than what it seems because I'm drinking water.
Yeah.
It's not always what it seems. That was the topic.
Things aren't always what they seem, right?
Right.
You might think I'm drinking water, but I'm drinking tea.
Right. I remember going to the T-ball field and us moms having a field day with our coffee cups and what we may or may not have been drinking. But it wasn't coffee.
Mom of the year.
Yes. The whole group of us. So I can't, it's just not me. It's a whole group.
I think it's probably most parents. I remember us when we were kids.
Yeah.
Anywho, tell us who you are, Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle with Moksha Grace Coaching. As my voice goes weird. And I help people manage their emotions and their triggers so that their emotions and their triggers don't manage them and they can respond instead of react appropriately for their higher self, their higher good, versus self-sabotaging relationship situations because they reacted from a place of the past. Normally fear. A lot of fear.
Yeah.
So that's what I get to do.
Love it. And I am Krista Barone. I am a fractional CEO and ops consultant. I essentially help people run their business, help them do all the things behind the scenes, those annoying projects to others that usually are technical in nature or just operations oriented. I help you take care of all that so you don't have to, and you can focus on your clients, your service, your product, whatever it is.
And amazing at it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So we have an interesting topic today.
That should just be our slogan. We should change our slogan to, we have an interesting topic today.
Well, I normally say fun, but today I said interesting.
Ha!
So I think it's going to be very interesting where this goes.
Get us started.
Well, what is going on behind the scenes? And there's always something going on, more going on than what you realize.
Oh, yeah.
And I think
my career's based off of it.
Exactly. You are the behind the scenes. You are the wizard behind the curtain. And that's how you got that first nickname, Wizard of Ops. And it's so important because it can be positive like that. That's awesome, right? What does it take to run a show? What does it take to run a haunted house? What does it take to run a Disney park? Hi. Hello, Jenny. I was going to say hi, girls, and just read your comment, but hi, Jenny. Training a horse. There's always more. And I sent her a video of this woman who is just doing this amazing job of training a horse. There's always more that's going on behind the scenes than what you can actually see with your eyes. And so sometimes you have to feel into it. You can sense it. Your emotions, your hair goes up in the back of your neck sometimes. Sometimes it's an emotional thing. Your emotions are triggered for some reason, and maybe you can't put your finger on it. What are your thoughts?
I was thinking, is she just covering the whole episode right now? Should we just end it 5 minutes in? No, I think there's a lot of things that aren't what I think most of our lives are not what they seem, to be honest with you. I mean, social media has created this idea of perfection and consumerism and all of these things. So in this day and age, I think most things that we see are not what they seem. I mean, we can't even trust photos and videos online because of the way AI is being used. Um, the way that one of the major political figures right now just did an interview that was cut up so significantly that you really don't know what was said because they cut up the interview so much. And so another political figure is requesting the actual full thing because you can't tell because it's, strategically edited or, things are put in post to make, certain things sound a certain way. And so it's just, with the day and age that we're in, the only thing that you can trust are, I mean, you can barely trust your own eyes because of the use of AI.
Right.
Maybe you can trust the things that you hear, but can you? Because with AI, it also makes fake sounds like that Justin Bieber song that went around that was not real. Can you trust your taste buds? As of right now, you can mostly trust your taste buds, unless maybe, I guess, if you're on like a psychedelic thing, maybe not. Sense of smell, I guess you could technically trust, though Disney has created ways to put popcorn,
Manipulate
scent,
you.
and cookies in the air, even though there are none in the area. So I think it's a very interesting time that we're in right now, which is the only thing that leaves left to trust is your intuition and your gut. Um,
Yeah.
and everything requires looking into it to determine what's real and what's not.
Yeah. And I'm so happy that you brought up the thing about the political piece. I saw something last night that was just a I mean, he's a prominent figure in, podcasts, and they manipulated his words to make it sound like he's supportive of one thing, a person, and he absolutely is not. And anyone that follows him would know that's absolutely not true. But it was so well done and seamless that you could barely tell. If you don't know the person, like if you haven't watched the person and followed the person and their uh, enlightenment in today's world, you wouldn't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
um and yeah, and there's stars now, singers that are coming out and they're calling it out and they're rising up and they're not putting up with it,
Mm-hmm.
and they're speaking out against it. And I mean, to the point where they're showing messages and letting people know what the truth is, because that's the only way that you can live authentically, really. But how sad that we have to like prove ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, just kind of we've talked about it quite a bit in the last few weeks because I think it's so important is that, the election is coming up. It's only, 2 weeks away. The early voting, I think, opened today. Um, so many people just go into the voting booth knowing maybe a name. They haven't looked into the amendments. They haven't looked into, the different justices that usually you vote or should they stay or not. They haven't looked into anything else but something like the president or the governor or whatever. They know one name. And so, and that's what a lot of politicians rely on is that you just happen to recognize their name, so that's who you go with, or you saw their photo and they were more handsome or more beautiful, so you pick them just based on that. And
Right.
that actually is like something that they have statistics on that's how so many people vote. Is just right, Jenny. Maybe it's just you just check off all Democrat or check off all Republican, and there's no actual research into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where, we run into problems where all of a sudden 6 months later we're like, how the heck did this person get voted in? And it's like,
Right.
well, because you based your opinion off of just their political party, or you based their opinion just on the ads that
Right.
were on the TV, which we talked about last week. They're so emotion based, it's so ridiculous. Like it's embarrassing how emotion based the ads are. But it's so important to actually look deeper into things. And we gave the example last week of, one of the big things, one of the presidential nominees, which she technically wasn't actually nominated, but anyway, they're banking on certain narratives of the other side. But when you actually look into it, there were specific reasons why that other side didn't vote for something or voted
Right.
against, pushed against something. But they're taking just that one little sliver. And if you're just going along and you hear that, then you're like, oh, that other person's a jerk.
Right.
But actually, that other person is looking out for interests that you didn't even know were part of that other thing. And so it's just, there's so much smoke and mirrors that you have to look into things. You cannot just base it on a party name.
Okay. So you said ads and you said smoke. So I have to bring this up because I've been getting text messages because I'm a reformed Democrat, and so I get these stupid text messages. And so this one ad and this one message that I keep getting is like, and it's 12:12. Vote against weed or you're going to be, it's the horrible smell is going to be everywhere and there's going to be smoke everywhere.
Oh, that was the ad we saw the other night. Oh my gosh. And so in Florida, one of our amendments is to legalize recreational marijuana use. And there was an ad when we were watching a hockey game that literally came on, and it was people sitting in a community park, and the entire basis of the ad was, oh God, the smell. Okay, I don't know what kind of parks that y'all have, but if I smell marijuana, that's the least of my concerns. I'm more concerned about the overwhelming pee smell everywhere, or like diapers that weren't thrown in the garbage. I'm not worried about the smell of marijuana. Are we serious? Like literally, I'm not even joking, you guys. That was the entire basis of the commercial. That's it. Was that the smell is annoying.
And the smoke was going to be everywhere. And my thing is I'm sorry, I would rather smell weed than I would cigarettes. I mean, don't get me started on that.
Pee, dog poop. I mean, you can name a whole. I mean, I could keep going.
And listen, pot smokers are not going to leave a little bit of a joint, which would be called a blunt, but I just know this from research. I mean, from reading books.
Okay, stop. It's weird when you explain it too much. Just go ahead.
But anyway, they're not going to leave like people leave cigarette butts everywhere. You're not going to have that issue. Like,
this is like the argument of you got to look through your kids' Halloween candy because they're putting drugs in it. Nobody is giving drugs away for free, especially to children. They are trying to get more clientele, not children who cannot buy from them. Nobody is putting drugs in candy.
Back in my day, it was we had to take the candy to the hospital and have it x-rayed to test and see if there were razors.
Okay, so you get radiation in your food that you're now consuming? That's
well, again, there's always more going on behind the scenes than we're aware of, right? Because back then we didn't know any better. And so
if anything, you know what? You're right. Maybe what's happening is that was a clever ploy to get parents to look at candy to realize that the ingredient list is disgusting and their children shouldn't be eating that garbage. You're right. You know what? Never mind. You know what? Maybe they are putting drugs in candy and you should look at it and you should pay extra close attention to the ingredient list and see, are they listing crack cocaine on the ingredient list? Oh no, it's just red dye number 40, which has been proven to be petroleum. Anyway, I digress.
Probably even worse for you, but whatever. Let's put the red dye in there. Let's be afraid of pot, but let's eat red M&Ms. I mean,
anyway.
Anywho,
I went off a little bit there. Sorry about that, everybody.
I'm sorry, but the ads just, when I saw the ad and then I got a text message of the same thing, like, do you want to be walking on the sidewalk and have smoke blown in your face and it be pot? And I'm thinking, first of all, if you're smoking pot, you're probably not going to necessarily go take a 2-mile walk. It's not.
Jenny, that's hysterical.
Jenny, you have no idea how long it has been going on with red dye. Wasn't it red dye number 9 at some point, or was it always red dye 40?
I have had a thing against red dye since the first time I tried red velvet cake like 15 years ago, and I got so violently sick afterwards. I've never
Mm.
touched red velvet since because the red dye just hates me and I hate it.
Yeah. Well,
Bottom line. Which,
yeah,
you know, we shouldn't hate things. I strongly dislike it, but whatever. Same thing. Anyway.
yeah. Anyway, so the bottom, I mean, not the bottom line, because we're nowhere near the end of this conversation. But this part of the conversation is look into things for yourself and don't just go by the stupid ass ads that they're coming up with,
Yeah.
because they're doing it to they're doing it just to, I don't even know why they're
Well, we
doing it,
talked
because they
about it
don't
last
even
week.
make sense.
They're doing it to play on emotions. If you are not in control, we talked about this last week on, I think it was Moment of Presence. Show on Thursdays, 12 p.m. If
Shout out.
you are not in control of your emotions, you are very easily manipulated. And so
Yeah,
if they can play on people's emotions, they can blind them from actually seeing the logic behind it.
right.
They
Right.
they can blind them from seeing, oh, well, actually that loosens up the laws, which means more people who need it medically but don't have an official diagnosis can access what they need. It means that you have less people going to prison and jail for something that is so stupid that they're getting time for and a record
Mhm.
for. Meanwhile, other states are using it recreationally and their economy is booming. There is actually ends up potentially, I believe, less drug use all around. Like, it's not,
Mhm.
I mean, this is also, we're talking about marijuana. There's patents by the US government about how beneficial it is and the medical purposes of it. So, I mean, it's just all around, it's
Right.
silly. And another example of things are not always what they seem. But I
Right.
also don't want this whole episode just to be about marijuana because neither of us use it. And so it kind of is weird to me that we're hyper focusing on it a little bit.
Well, I mean, but here's the thing: the the things that are put out there by the leaders above us and in another state that starts with a W, uh, when they say don't do something, or they're giving something for free, or they're trying to bribe you to do something, these are the things that we should pay attention to, because there is something going on behind the scenes that you're not
Wait,
realizing.
so you're telling me if the government is offering me free Krispy Kreme donuts, I should not just do whatever they say?
As hard as that would be for me to turn down a Krispy Kreme donut without red dye 40 in it, I would say absolutely do not partake, because there is a purpose.
You mean to tell me
Yes.
that if I'm told that I cannot travel unless I do this thing, that's, you mean to tell me that is total manipulation and blackmailing?
Yes, and you should check into that to make
Whoa.
sure what is really going on.
Whoa. You are blowing my
Yeah.
mind right now.
Yeah, I know. Just like when I worked in healthcare, I was told one thing about masks, and then I was told something different.
There's a post going around. It's been going around for like 5 years now, where it's like the schools are sending out notices that say like, "Don't, your children are not allowed to wear masks to school because they're distracting." The parents are like, "Wait, what? Now they're distracting? They were distracting 4 years ago, but now they are. Okay, great, awesome, appreciate that." Things are not always what they seem, people.
There is so much going on.
You know what?
Every
Here's another good example. We're both sitting here. People may be sitting here watching, going, you know what? I bet these women are 5'7". Nope. I'm only 4'9", 4'10", 4'10".
I'm
You're
4'11
4'11".
and a half.
You would
Excuse
never
me,
know.
a half. Don't forget about my
Well,
half.
I'm technically 4'9 3/4", but the lady put 4'10" on my driver's license, so
All
whatever.
right,
I'm just
fine.
claiming. I mean, really, when you think about it, 3/4, it's basically 4'10". So, I mean.
Jenny, we're here all day.
Well, for the next 10, 15, 20 minutes.
So, Jenny, have you had any of these situations where you realized there was more going on behind the scenes? Let us know in the comment. And anyone else that's watching, because I see that there's more people watching, let us know that you're here. Say hi, give us a shout out, make a comment, and share out with someone who you also feel needs a little giggle today.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, and you know what? That's a really good point, because how many times have you been a part, you're watching something, or you're in a group with some friends, or you're out to dinner, and two people start laughing, and there's obviously some kind of a
Inside joke.
inside joke going on, but you feel left out, but yet are you
Or
really
even
left
worse,
out?
you feel like they're laughing at you.
Right. And how many times is it just because they've been friends maybe longer? They've had a different kind of relationship. It doesn't have anything to do with you. But
Yeah.
how many times do we take that on ourselves, and we always go to we always jump to the worst case scenario? Most times. Not everybody, but most times we will jump to the worst case scenario.
Well, and we make it sort of a habit to always assume that everything's about us also. You know,
Well, yes.
everything, if people are looking in a weird direction or they're giving you some sort of grimace or whatever, it's always that it is specifically, personally about us. And it's just like, it's so not the case.
Okay, so I will not share all details, but this once happened to me in a group of friends. There was a situation, and we were all going to go away on a multi-family vacation.
Okay.
And I I had to make sure that we did not go. And I had one of the friends call me, bitch me out, and tell me that not everything was all about me, and that when I don't get my way, I take my toys and I just go home. And in reality, what was happening behind the scenes, I will refrain from sharing the whole story, but there was a lot going on behind the scenes that they were not aware of. And I actually was doing it for them, to protect them from a situation that was going to not end well.
Mm-hmm.
And so things are not always what they seem. Hey, Adam. And yes, Jenny, she didn't mean to be. And that's the other thing, is she didn't mean to be a bitch. She was calling me out because she thought I was being a witch.
Hello, Lewis. Thank you for the love.
Hey, Lewis. But it was because I was protecting everybody,
Mm-hmm.
3 families,
Mm-hmm.
from something that could have really been bad.
Yeah.
Um, and that happened in PTA too.
Yeah.
I had to out the VP because there was some stuff going on, and I promised that person to protect her daughter that I would not share what was going on. And so I had to ask everybody that sat on the PTA board to trust me that I was making the best decision, but that I also was keeping my word and doing what I needed to, but she had to step down.
Yeah.
And not until it came out after the fact, when she let it out, did everyone come back to me and go, wow, thank you. Wow.
You're a
So
bigger woman than I am.
there's always something more going on, and you have to ask questions. You have to dive in. You have to
Yeah.
be like the Scooby Doo group, and you have to think like that.
Yeah. Well, and I love that example that I put in there because it's so, I just love, we don't necessarily think about it so much when we're kids and we're watching something like Scooby Doo, but it really is such a great program in the sense that all of the monsters are just everyday people. And in some episodes, they were people that were close with the group. And it's, they would put on their monster mask and try to scare people and do all these things, but they were just average people underneath. And that goes back to politics and friends and family and all of these things. As people are, actually, we just had an episode, what was it, last week or the week before on Moment of Presence, which was literally take off your mask.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody these days is wearing a mask.
Yep.
And so you really have to be mindful and careful. And again, going back to last week's episode, is getting in control of your emotions so that you are not easily manipulated. Something it's hilarious, but I have people get annoyed with me because I see too much of what could actually be going on. So if I'm dating someone and it doesn't work out, I'm going to see all of the possibilities of that, and most of them have nothing to do with me, or maybe it's just that we weren't a fit, but I'm don't think I'm capable of like hating a person because
Right.
it didn't work out. Or friendships, I'm going to think of all of the circumstances that were surrounded when that person hurt my feelings or whatever it was.
Right.
Or in traffic, when someone cuts me off. Not as good at that, I'll be honest, but we could look at that as maybe they're in a rush. Maybe they just got great news. Maybe they just got bad news. Maybe they're just having a moment where they're a little like out of it and they didn't even realize that they cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different possibilities to everything. We have to get better at A, removing ourselves from taking things personally, B, looking into things when we can and not just blindly following something,
Mm-hmm.
and C, seeing other perspectives. I lost my train of thought there for a second. Seeing other perspectives of what else could be going on. Someone once told me a long time ago, and I think we referenced this before on a different episode. Someone once told me a long time ago, if you're ever feeling like there's a bunch of people, like there's situations and people and whatever that are like, everything is your fault, literally say to yourself constantly, it's not my fault, not my fault, not my fault.
Not my fault.
To get yourself out of the habit of it.
Yeah.
And that can be really effective. But yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not going to lie. My original thought with this topic was, we got an election coming up. I don't know why we're all trying to avoid talking about it, because it is what it is. There's an election. People are on different sides of it. It is what it is, but we can't not talk about it because that's what they want.
Yeah. And the thing is that I watched two different things last night. I watched a video of President Trump, and he was in a room talking with a bunch of women, and they were asking him questions.
Mm-hmm.
And this one woman was asking him a question. She was a single mom, divorcee, had a horrible accident, broke her back. She's standing there at the mic and she's trying to talk and trying to get these words out. And she's in the middle of having a panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
And he took the time to like give her a moment and kind of like draw the attention away from her. And he answered a question, but like went into something else real quick to give her a breather, and was like, you don't have to be like, kind of like, you don't have to be nervous. Like, we're just talking, and just calmed her down. But to see all the women around her, white, black, every ethnicity was there. And it's so important because this election is not and should not be about race or anything else. It should be about the United States and our rights, and what is being taken from us versus what is being given to us.
What we have the possibility to have and to do. And I just want to go back because there was also, I saw a video, it was so cute. And to me, this is like the biggest testament of supporting women. There was a rally and there was a baby that was crying in the background, and it was a Trump rally. I saw a clip of it, and Trump literally stopped to say, oh, I love babies. Don't even worry about it. It's totally okay. That is the sound of life and of love and whatever. And like something like that, I almost want to get emotional about it because we all know, I mean, have I had kids? No, but I can relate because I've had nieces and stuff like that and nephews and whatever. When your kid starts screaming and hooting and hollering and crying and all of these things, it is mortifying if you're in like a group space. Right. And there's really nothing I can do to get my kid to stop crying, to
Right.
have someone be like, no, really, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Like, it's all right. That instantly soothes that person down and makes them feel like it's okay. And I think it's so important that those kind of visuals are coming out, because I remember, and this was when I voted against Trump, I'm not even gonna lie, years ago. The big narrative was like, oh, he's against women, he's against women. He has
Mhm.
that famous line that he said at some, I think it was a model event or something. He's gonna grab something. And
Mm.
it was so funny to me that so many people got upset by that. And it made me, what made me think of it is I watched the movie The Ugly Truth yesterday. And in it, it's they're talking about how, oh, I'm sure the guy that you're interested in would never think about something like that. He's too mature for that. And it made me think of this situation too, because it's like, if you think that your brother, your father, your husband, your uncle, your
Mhm.
whoever is not speaking like that in their group chat, is not speaking like that on the golf course, is not speaking like that at the baseball games and stuff, you
Right.
are out of your mind.
Or
It is the same way that us women say the things that we do in our group chat.
oh, absolutely. And here's the thing, and to think that any other president, and there's been many that have done way worse than just say something. Because if the White House walls could talk, yeah, exactly. So, and then I was watching something else last night that was interesting because it was I forget who the two guys are, and they're really really super smart, and I'll share it in the comments if I'll remember their names. And the one guy was like, "You all are being fooled
Mhm.
because Kamala's not as dumb as you all think. Think of who she was raised by." And he literally said to the other the guy that was interviewing him, he's like, look it up right now. Look it up while we're talking. Look up who her father was. Look up what kind of economic like professor he was. Look at what he represented. And then look at how she's acting and kind of like dumbing things down. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Why are we dumbing things down?
Well, it's
Because
like the
Americans are not dumb.